Well, anyone who's experienced a major health scare knows how suddenly life can turn on a dime. Like my next guest, a woman from this province whose life was upended when she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Christine Tizzard is a familiar face here on CBC. She's the former host of the show Best Recipes Ever, has authored several cookbooks, and loves sharing tips for creating a zero-waste kitchen. Born in St. John's, the mother of two now lives just outside Toronto. And back in 2021, she began experiencing painful symptoms that led to the discovery of a malignant brain tumor. She documented her journey on social media, including the costly toll of traveling to the United States for surgery, spending more than $130,000. A recent opinion piece in the National Post by Josh DeHaas talks about Christine's journey and why he feels the Canadian healthcare system failed her. He's counsel with the Canadian Constitution Foundation, and they both join me now from Ontario. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Well, Christine, can you take me back and tell me how your diagnosis came about and when you started feeling that something was wrong?
So I originally got diagnosed with a brain tumor, a slow-growing brain tumor, when I was about 15 or 16. However, it was always closely monitored. And then about 3 years ago, I started to get very sick. And things just progressed to such a point that I was getting multiple MRIs, and then it was revealed that the tumor was growing quite aggressively and significantly. Very, very horrible headaches that would send me to the emergency room. I was having trouble swallowing. And then it started to take over my right eye. So I was starting to see double, and my eye wasn't moving properly anymore. And that's when it started to get really bad. It was a specific type of tumor that is quite rare to have in the brain. It's a chondrosarcoma. And the only way to deal with a chondrosarcoma is to try to get all of the tumor out as much as possible, because it's just going to continue to grow if you don't get it all out. So then you're looking for a surgeon that can do something very specific and unique like that. And that's where things get really sticky and not great for me.
Yeah. What did the Canadian doctors say about what they could do for you? And then how did you end up having to pivot and go south of the border?
So the type of surgery I had was something called an endoscopic endonasal surgery. So it's not the traditional old school where they take part of your brain off and go in that way. They actually go up through your nose. And in my case, they went up through my nose and in through my upper lip here. And it's kind of gross, but they just drag it all out. But at the same time, it's quite amazing that they can do surgeries like this now. It's amazing. What the surgeons offered me here was something which is a partial debulking. So they would go in, get as much as they could out, but they weren't confident in certain areas. Like the tumor had wrapped around my carotid artery. And if that was, say, nicked during the surgery, then I would have a catastrophic stroke. So they weren't confident. So they just offered me a partial debulking, get as much as they can, and then have to go and possibly have surgery again, or maybe even a third time. Whereas the surgeon that I had a consult with in the US, in Pittsburgh, guaranteed a 95% removal in one surgery, and was very, very confident about getting all of the tumor around the carotid artery, which was the most significant for me, because if it continues to grow around that artery, that means I'm just going to have a catastrophic stroke at any point in time anyways, once it starts growing again.
But what did you think when you found out it was going to cost you $133,000?
Well, to be honest with you, the total bill at the end of it was over 500,000 US for this surgery. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe the surgeon was just really wanting to do the surgery or knew that how important it was for me to get all of this out. They gave me a huge discount. So when you look at it in those perspectives, $130,000 compared to 500 is not a lot. But I mean, that's pulling money out of like my life savings, right? And it's just so sad that I couldn't have the surgery here. You know, I pay my taxes. I've been very due diligent with my health. I've always followed up with everything, trying to be on top of everything. And I just found it very sad that there wasn't an option for me here.
Well, Josh, I'd like to bring you in on this. What prompted you to want to share Christine's story in your opinion piece for the National Post?
We hear stories like Christine's, unfortunately, all the time. And, you know, I wrote about a situation like this in British Columbia, and then I got into contact with Christine, and I thought, you know, it's really important that people know, first of all, just how bad things are right now, and also that they know that in some cases like Christine's, if you go to the government ahead of time and you jump through all the hoops and meet the requirements, sometimes governments actually will pay for your surgeries abroad. In Christine's case, they haven't paid yet. I think that they should. And so I'm trying to raise awareness about that problem.
What kind of financial toll has that taken on you?
I was very fortunate that my sister and one of my best friends did start a GoFundMe, which has helped him, you know, and it's helped so much. It has covered the bulk of the surgery. But the other thing that people have to be aware of is when you have these very, very complicated surgeries. I have been out of work since last March. And being self-employed, I don't get any disabilities. I don't get any support through the government. I'm self-employed. I'm not eligible for anything. So I'm also living off of, you know, savings, and thank God, you know, I have a partner, and thank God I have family support. But I'm not going to say financially it hasn't taken a huge toll. You know, you have to ask questions like, do I have to sell the house? If I do, when do I do that? You know, and I don't think as Canadians, we should be forced to have to make those type of decisions.
They need to do, you know, one of two things. They need to either reimburse people like Christine when they are forced to go abroad to save their own lives, or they need to at least allow other options within the Canadian healthcare system for people to go and get those surgeries they need. You know, this is what you see in most of Europe and Australia. If you have a problem and you're waiting too long, and frankly, they have much lower wait times in their public systems, there should be other options for you, like private options. But as long as we don't have those, we need to be reimbursing people who take matters into their own hands and go and, you know, save their own lives or stop their own suffering by going abroad.
How are you feeling now, Christine?
I mean, yeah, I had to have a lot of conversations with my kids that I would never want to have. You know, I was faced with coming out of that surgery with a lot of complications, and I am feeling very, very good considering everything that's been done to me. I have quite a bit of nerve damage. I have, as you can see, I have basically lost the ability to use my right eye. And I see double all the time, unless I, you know, block one eye so I can see you like I'm doing now. You know, I've lost all the hearing in my right ear, but in the grand scheme of things, the tumor is gone. And it doesn't look like I'm going to have any other surgeries. And that is just absolutely amazing.
It's such a personal story. I really appreciate you sharing your experience with us. I hope it does some other people some good out there. And Josh Dehaz, thank you so much as well for your thoughts on this.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carolyn.